Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. I want to share an experience that I just had fishing because it has so many different lessons that are in this story, and it really does. So, I told you about doing a clinic with the kids, and after doing that clinic and the smoke is heavy in the air, my buddy Rust had come to help me, and he said afterwards, would you have some time we could go on the pond? He says, I'm leaving for 10 days, and I want to get one more chance on the pond before all the weeds grow in. So I said, sure. So out we go on our favorite pond with a canoe. We didn't take a trolling motor. We didn't take any batteries. We were lightweight in the canoe, and there was a breeze. So the way we fished is one person would paddle and keep the canoe moving against the wind or whatever we were doing. Otherwise, the wind will just blow a canoe. You'll get one cast in, and you got to move it again. So one of us would paddle, and the other would fish until that person would catch a fish, and then we'd switch. And then that person would start to paddle. So we're doing this, and we're fishing along. And because it was so much smoke in the air, it was really difficult to see weather changes. And all of a sudden, I heard this booming sound. I said, Russ, what was that? He said, thunder. Now, I know this sounds really simple when I'm saying that I didn't even know that a storm was coming, but I couldn't really see changes in the sky. And so he went on his phone, and he started looking at local radar. And he says, well, we've got about 40 minutes before this is supposed to come over us. So we're fishing, and we start catching fish. And time passes quickly when you're having fun. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, the wind started picking up. And I heard more thunder. And now we were at a point where we were too far in the pond to make it back. And the last thing we wanted to be is on the water with graphite rods and have thunder and lightning. You know, that's in the old days, people would do that, and there were people killed every year. There were people killed on golf courses because they're getting struck by lightning. It's the last thing we wanted to happen. But where do we go? It's all swampy around us, and things were changing rapidly. The wind was picking up, and I said, Rust, we need to get in and get in the woods and get out of the storm and get out of this canoe. But that was easier said than done because now the wind had come from mild to ferocious in just seconds. And we started paddling. We're using all the strength we had, and the wind was blowing us back in the opposite direction. The next thing I felt that Rust had fallen in. He didn't, but the wind hit our canoe and almost capsized it. Then it hit my face, blew the hat off my head, blew my glasses off my head, and we're now in, oh my God, the adrenaline is flowing like crazy. Somehow, and I say somehow, I looked over and I said, Russ, there's a swath in between all that swampy reeds over there that looks like where the beavers have cleared in. Maybe we can get the canoe to head into that swath, and we can get on the shore and be able to get in the woods. And we did this. We were able to get in. We got under this canopy of thick woods that really was keeping the rain off us. But more important, we were out of the canoe. We weren't going to capsize at that moment and drown. And also, hopefully, we were not sitting duck for lightning. And so we're under the canopy. And after a while, I said to Rust, I think the temperature's dropping. It's getting colder. I'm starting to get chilled. Are you? He said, yeah, I'm getting chilled too. The temperature had dropped 20 degrees. We're soaking wet. The mosquitoes are driving me insane, biting unbelievably. I don't have a hat on my head now. And so I could say stay tuned, and I'll tell you what happened. But I'll finish this report right now and tell you that, first of all, back up a moment before the storm hit. We almost capsized. Before I lost my glasses, my hat, everything, and the fish were striking. And we got so enthralled, captivated, lost in the action we were having because before a storm, a lot of the time the fish know that. They were far more sensible about this than we were because they knew the storm was coming, and they decided to feed up, and then they knew that they were going to be disoriented afterwards and not going to feed. So we were getting strikes, and we were catching. We caught some really big northern pike. We had bass hitting, and I know it isn't quite bass season, but you can't help when you're fishing for pike that the bass are going to hit. And we were really having a great day. and then everything stopped. Everything became all of a sudden survival time. And we're in the woods. We're starting to have hypothermia. And Russ says to me, do you want to try to make a break? I think the wind has gone down enough where if both of us paddle with every bit of muscle we got, we might be able to make it back. And so we did. And I will tell you, and I try to work out all the time. I run all the time. I do all this stuff. This was the most exertion, the most physically draining, that constant. I felt like one of the crews that race with their boats at Dartmouth or Harvard or something. We finally made it back. And it really was. It was a test to both of us. But you know what? Afterwards, as we're trying to get the canoe back on the car and the wind is picked up again and it's blowing us and we're weak and we're exhausted, we couldn't help but laugh. We'd made it through. We'd survived an incident, and we probably won't remember all the great fishing we had before the storm, but we will sure remember the bond that it gave us to endure the storm and to make it back together. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.